Welcome to the Memorabilia Network. I'm Dan Nellis. I have the great pleasure of being joined today by Gary Wong. Gary is an incredibly influential artist from Los Angeles, but he also has an incredibly unique story about an amazing piece of sports memorabilia. Gary, thanks so much for joining me today and spending some time with us. It's great to see you.
Well, it's great to be here, Dan. I've never been in a situation like this before. Well, so it's kind of really exciting.
Good.
Really
Okay.
exciting.
Well, we're very excited too. So, I'd love for you to tell us about you growing up here in Los Angeles and a certain event that happened to you where a certain item came into your possession.
Okay, let's go back. 1958. I'm starting to play ball. I'm in junior high school, which is near the Coliseum. So 1958 Coliseum. Junior high school is nearby. We used to glean the Coliseum after Rams games because, the kids could get in free, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I started to play baseball, but I didn't have a glove. Now, being left-handed, I don't know, it seemed like I was the only left-hander in the world at the time.
Yeah.
So I'd always have to borrow another team member's glove. They were all right-handed, and put it on my right hand. And eventually that got tired, and they got tired of me, repositioning the pocket.
Right.
And then the other team, you can't rely on them. So I was basically without a glove, playing baseball without a glove.
Right. And it must have been really awkward having to do that all the time.
It was, yeah. It's just like, man, you ain't supposed to borrow someone else's glove. Anyway, I had a buddy. He's one of those guys. Now, junior high school.
Right.
This guy looks like he was 18. An amazing guy.
What was his name?
His name was Smokey. He was an amazing guy. I mean, he taught me all these little hustles. One day, he knew my situation. And he didn't actually ask me anything, but one day he just came up and said, "Here's a glove. Here's a left-hander's glove." And I looked at it. I said, it was amazing to have a glove on my right hand that fit.
That fit, yeah.
That fit.
So Smokey, how was he able to present this glove to you?
Well, Smokey, one of his hustles or one of his things was that he worked in the concession for the concessions at the Coliseum. And part of his gig was to run beer and hot dogs and peanuts and whatever to the dugout.
So at the time, 1958, Dodgers, first year in Los Angeles, Dodger Stadium was not a thing yet, so the Dodgers played at the LA Coliseum.
That was it. And Smokey worked there and had access. I didn't really know all this until he gave me the glove. And I said, "Well, how did you get this?" I thought I said, "Look, man." He said, "Well, don't worry about it. It's an old glove. They'll never miss it." I said, "Well, whose is it?" And he said, the guy, he's nothing right now. He barely makes the roster or something." I had no idea. I said, "Well, all right, cool." So I had the glove to play. The only problem with it was that it was really broke in. I did everything I could to use a glove. Put a sponge up under there, and it was just too broke in. I just couldn't use the glove. It was just burned me up. And
so thanks very much, Smokey, but unfortunately, it wasn't too useful for you.
But he put me on the right path.
Right.
I mean, I eventually went out and bought me a cheap Wilson or something.
Right.
And that set of one of my 2 or 3 gloves that I eventually had.
Right.
But the one Smokey gave me then, once I got a glove, I just tossed it and put it in a box somewhere and forgot about it.
So this glove that Smokey gave you, you tried it, didn't work, and then you're like, oh,
tried
this
it,
put it in
didn't
your
work.
closet.
It was like I couldn't, it was burning me up. I use a glove. I thought you get a glove to protect your hand.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know. Yeah, so I just put it away. It wasn't serving me as a glove.
So then, in having this glove in storage, you probably didn't think too much of it over the years, but then when did you revisit it?
Well, funny enough, I moved, you know, I mean, it's been since 58, so I mean, all my life has been, all these years, I've revisited it or would happen upon it in moving or something, I'd say, you know, and then it's like, just throw it away. It's not good doing you anything.
Right.
Oh, but just put it aside. And then, you know, eventually I knew who it belonged to, and I said, well, I better keep it.
So when did you discover that?
Well, I knew it had a number, it had his number written on the
And what number was that?
32. And it also had, and in I guess back in 58, in the 50s, they didn't have magic markers or Sharpies. But they did have what they call a Chinese laundry markers.
Right.
Right. And so it was written in Chinese laundry marker, 32, and then KOOFOO, which I could never. I always thought it was said KOOBOO. I couldn't quite read it, but it ends up being KOOFOO. So I found out, you know, who's that? Well, apparently that was Don Drysdale's nickname for Sandy KOUFAX. And then, you know, of course, by high school, I mean, you know, no hitters.
Yeah. Perfect game.
Perfect game. All that's going on. I said, I'm kind of glad I got that glove somewhere. Still, I forgot about it. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I find it again and I say, how do I check the value of this? And or check anything,
Right.
information.
Yeah,
of this.
history about it, that
History
sort of thing.
about it, all that. I said, what do I do? I got a hold of the Dodger historian. I forget the fellow's name.
Mark Langell.
Mark, yes, Mark, a very nice guy. And he was totally accommodating. I think he took pictures of me with the glove, and we had the conversation of the provenance and the whole story. And he kept the glove and showed it to Sandy, apparently. And then Sandy, you know, said, you know, well, he doesn't do that, or
He wouldn't authenticate it.
he wouldn't authenticate
Yeah.
it, he wouldn't sign it or anything. But he says, you can do what you want. I mean, he kind of said he recognized it, but he wasn't owning it. He says, you can do what you want and good luck, you know. So Mark put it in a letter form and gave it to me. So I did have this letter. Also, he gave me a phone number of some guy, a collector of Sandy KOUFAX, and I did call him. So now I had some kind of authentication that I'm on the right track. At least Sandy looked at it, right? And have this phone number. So I called the guy up, and he said, oh, well, I tell you, sight unseen, I paid $5,000 for it. And this is 10, maybe almost 15 years ago now. I said, well, gee, thanks, but no thanks. I mean, you know, thanks. I just wanted to feel. Wasn't really
looking for an offer. Or
wasn't really ready to let it go.
Sure.
So here we are now, 15 years later, and the World Series is on, and I'm watching Judd hit those home runs, 61, 62.
Yeah.
And then 62, the announcer says, they were talking about who got the ball and all this stuff, and they missed the ball, and the lucky guy, some like $2-3 million for that ball. I said,
That's what they were speculating at
that's
the time.
they speculated just over the air, and I
Yeah.
said,
Right.
$2 million for the ball.
Yeah.
Where's that glove? Yeah. So I dug it up and I looked at it and thought about it, and I said, well, you know, maybe it's time to investigate a little more. So, you know, the search went on. How do I, and what do I, and where do I go? I go online. Of course, this wasn't available even 15 years ago. But I just put sports auction or, you know, something, and it popped up this form. Sandy KOUFAX gloves circa 58, 59. I think that's all I put. I don't. And we'll see what happens. That was the evening before my phone blew up. So early in the morning, I mean, I'm not even awake yet, and the phone starts ringing, and I'm getting all these texts and everything. And then I'm looking at this list of guys. I'm getting phone calls from San Diego, New Jersey, New York. I'm getting phone calls from all over the place, Arizona, and I'm saying, oh, who is who and what is what?
Yeah.
So it boiled down to, if I got to make a decision, what am I going to base it on? Well, one, we know I don't want to drive down to far away,
Yeah.
or I don't want to do any paperwork really, or, you know, I'd like to just sit and tell my story
Right.
and let that be the truth of it. So what do I do? Well, I looked at the list of the phone calls and the connections and the email addresses and like that, and, you know, Jersey, and there it is, Burbank. I said, Burbank is a hop, skip, and a jump. I don't know, did I call you or did you call me?
I called you and I left a voicemail, and then you called me back pretty quickly.
Yeah,
So,
so I think that was the perfect timing.
Yeah.
Because you caught me in this contemplative mood.
It was like the lighthouse in the middle of the storm for you.
Well, it became the perfect storm then, you know, the perfect storm. So yes, and then we talked, and you came over, and we talked some more, and then I gave you the glove, and you split, and you gave me something that you took.
Some paperwork saying I was taking with
Yeah,
me, you know,
yeah.
making sure we were
and,
board.
and I was all cool with it. I'm totally cool with it. I said, you know, the vibe was cool. It's closer.
Yeah.
They're in the same business. What do I know?
Right.
I trusted Dan. I liked Dan. I trusted him. He's saying all the right things, everything I needed to hear and what I wanted to hear, you know, was coming. You know, that's what I needed to hear. And here we are.
And here we are. So, further along, my business partner, Harlan Werner, as I explained to you, represents Sandy KOUFAX in the marketing perspective.
How lucky.
Yeah, so it was really, again, part of this perfect storm that we just mentioned.
Perfect.
So we were able to have Sandy look at the glove, and he, as you mentioned, he doesn't authenticate his own memorabilia. It's been sort of his own standard policy. He did look at the glove, as we discussed with you, and the uniform number 32. He says, well, that's definitely the writing of the Dodgers equipment manager of the era. So that certainly led more value and authenticity as far as our collective search. So the last time that we were together, we had Sandy sign the glove, and we showed you the glove with his autograph on it. Since then, we have discussed with you about having the glove professionally authenticated.
Yes.
So we have done that.
Oh, boy.
So I have good news for you, and I have good news for you.
Oh, good news and good news.
So here's your official letter of authenticity
Oh
for
my
the baseball
gosh.
glove.
How about that?
Manufacturer, labeling period is 1958, which is correct for the story that you talked about.
Yes.
The authenticators have told us that the glove was probably manufactured in 1957, but not used until 1958. So the glove was used by Sandy KOUFAX in his very first season in Los Angeles, and that's the only year this glove was used because you got it in 1958.
Oh my God.
So throughout the letter as well, something I want to show you is that they've been able to photo match Sandy with the
Oh
glove
my word.
on his hand. And that's your glove, and that's Sandy wearing your glove.
Incredible.
Okay, so that's the first bit of good news that we have for you. Here
That's
you
great.
can have a look at that a
Oh,
little bit
man.
closer. The second bit of good news is the authenticator. His name is John Tobby, and he's incredibly well respected in our industry. And he said, as you know, and people won't be able to see this, but when we got the glove, it wasn't in the best condition because the leather had dried out and the lacing had split. So he recommended that we get the glove refurbished, which is not an uncommon practice.
Oh yeah, it's kind of
in the business. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
went ahead and had that done for you.
Oh my word.
So here's your glove. Why don't you open that up for me?
Oh my gosh, this is incredible. Oh word. Oh my word.
Does that look like the glove that you
Yeah,
remember?
that's the glove, but it's it's rejuvenated. It's like, oh man, and they got the stitch.
Yeah, they've
strung it
redone
back
the
up.
stitching and all the stringing, and they certainly put a lot of work into the leather as well.
And it looks like it came with the glove.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks even stressed. Oh, that's great. Oh man, can I keep it?
Actually, yeah, we can do that. So, so we were able to maintain the autograph,
Oh yes,
right?
yes, yes,
That
yes.
one, and then also he actually signed it twice, as you remember. So
Yeah.
there's the other one. So they were able to protect those signatures. So this is your glove that was used by Sandy KOUFAX in the 1958 Major League Baseball season at the Los Angeles Coliseum.
Crazy.
Yeah. How about that?
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
There you go. You can hang on to that
That's
for now.
beautiful. Yeah, for now. Well, yeah, I mean, I got no use for it. My playing days are over. That's kind of why this glove is surfaced, because I got no use for it anymore, and something told me it was time to let it go.
Yeah. Well, so further to our research, there are, to our knowledge, 7 Sandy KOUFAX game-used baseball gloves, only that are in private collections. Only 5 have come up for sale publicly. Yours will be the 6th ever in the history of the sports collectible industry. So,
And were they all the same model and the same?
there were some that were Herb Score, and then there were others later down the line that weren't. They were all Rawlings because that was Rawlings at the time. But you can tell again by the stitching and by the manufacture of the glove what the era was, because his later gloves in the 60s had a bigger pocket. They were a little longer. So, this also potentially, we don't know for a fact, might be the earliest KOUFAX game-used glove ever to come to the market as well. But we can't put a pin in that, so we don't want to. But anyway.
Rookie year. Maybe?
No. He didn't use this in 1955. It was only 58. So it was made in
Oh.
57, but he only used it in 58. And he only used it from the start of the season until when you got it, and that was it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, he caught a lot of balls in it. That's great information.
So anyway, we want to thank you so much for entrusting us with this incredible piece of memorabilia. This will be going up for auction in 2023. And we're certainly looking forward to bringing it to market. And we're very much looking forward to getting you a great result for it.
Man, still smells good.
Yeah.
Smells
Yeah.
good.
Any parting words for us, Gary?
God bless us all. Everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just, it was the completely perfect vibration. I mean, the list of people to choose from, I mean, it was pretty much drawing a ticket out of the hat. And I am so, it's so perfect that I'm excited about it, but it's so perfect, I just believe it, right? That just everything coming together has just been a phenomenon. And for Sandy to actually sign something that, it's like, it's just, I'm over the top.
That's great. Well,
over the top.
We're excited for you, and we were so happy that we could create this experience for you.
Oh God, this is incredible. And talk to the old maestros too.
Yep, absolutely.
That's great.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for being here with us today. Greatly appreciated. So fun spending time with you. And, we'll certainly look forward to having some more conversations with you down the road.
Yeah, man.
Well, for more information, please visit us at www.thememorabilianetwork.com, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.